Hello, I'm George Boyter, I'm a watercolour artist, and today we're in South Oxfordshire in the village of Ewelme. And behind me here you'll see a lovely, unique in fact, brick and flint church, and connected to it are a whole host of almshouses which are quite unusual. You can read about the history of it if you Google Ewelme, and it's an overcast day, but I'm going to see if I can do a painting of this, and we'll get started. Well, we've got some nice and interesting shapes in the scene here, and I'm going to try and get a composition out of this. It helps sometimes, well, it helps always to do a preliminary sketch where you explore what the composition might be. I'm working on a slightly vista kind of proportion here, and I think it suits the fact that what we're looking at is quite a long, narrow composition in my view. And so this has helped me to formulate in my mind before I commit to the watercolour what I'm going to try and do. It's very important to be clear in your mind what you're going to paint before you start. So the elements that I think are really helpful to the composition here are, first of all, we've got this diagonal from the path which leads the eye into the picture. It takes us to a point of really high contrast here, this distinctive, very dark doorway, and in front of it is this sarcophagus. So that's an important end point to this diagonal. That takes us to the tower, which is situated a third of the way across the page shape, and that's important as well. The light is very flat, but in my head I think I'm going to try to exaggerate a bit of light and shade here. That's what I'll try to do. Then from the tower we've got this long line and a bit of perspective here going into the distance, and these are the almshouses of Ewelme. But there's nice little interesting features to pick up. There's a dark doorway there, there's a couple of church type windows here, and then there's a few interesting shapes here on the houses, and it's important to see that we go downhill. And then there's a bank of trees holds the background together. So these are all important elements. This is nice here to have this tree. I'll probably bring it in a little bit from the right and just hold that corner. It's, as I say, it's a very cloudy day with flat lines, so in my mind I've got to try to help that along in some way. It either has to be the mood of the painting, or I can use artistic license and suggest that there's some light has come through between the clouds up here and gives us a little bit of contrast here. That's what I think I'll do at the moment. So now what I need to do is draw the composition here, and I think I'll just use this as a little bit of reference down here. Okay, so drawing with a clutch pencil means I never have to sharpen it, and I'll draw very lightly, but I hope you can see it. So as I said, the interesting and helpful feature here is this pathway, diagonal. It's going to come in from here. We don't actually have a horizon line as such, it's covered by the trees, but we do have an eye level line. My eye level is exactly the same as the tops of these houses here as they go across the picture area, and I'm just going to try to figure out where that is in the entire composition. Yeah, I think that's probably about halfway up the page is where my horizon, or my eye line is. So I'll keep that very very light just now and check on it. There's then this wall which is slight diagonal going down there. My church tower is, I want to have a little bit of sky area, and I'm going to put a flag on the flagpole for sure. I can adjust things if I want, you know, I can squeeze things together a little bit more if I want. But here I'm just feeling my way towards this composition. I've got to be able to make changes at any time. We've got, as I say, the shape of this dark shape here and this one down here immediately say church, so they're important. And I've got this interesting intrusion here of the sarcophagus, which obscures the rest of the doorway. Important to be as patient as possible at this stage. Give yourself time to do your drawing, because if you don't and you have doubts when you start painting, well, it's too late to really do anything about it. So it's a reason why we've got to be patient here. And just you have to trust your judgment as well. But here we have our little doorway which sits below this one. When I'm drawing, I tend to be finding checkpoints between shapes and then checking to see if I've got the relationship right. So there we go, that goes across there. Nice bent roof there. So I've slipped down slightly below that line that I originally had. And I don't want straight lines here. This is an old building. You want to emphasize that in the drawing. Just a few sagging roofs all help to tell the story. And so in terms of mood here, it feels like we're going a little bit back in time into the past, so I'm bearing that in mind. I may well take a few liberties here if I see something that doesn't help the composition. So there we go. So just continue drawing, and once I feel that the drawing is reasonably accurate I can go back and re-emphasize some elements and maybe get a bit of drawing style into it as well. This is where we've got a perspective line, and that's important too. Perspective is something that can't be ignored. So another thing that's important is to stand back every so often and check that we're developing the drawing in a way that's, as I say, accurate. We've got this nice window here, haven't we? It's offset. Somewhere about there. Yeah, there. I wish there was a window here, frankly, but there's beautiful herringbone brickwork there, which is very unusual. I'm not going to worry about it. It's too detailed, too small a feature for the painting here. And here's our wall. Which goes right out here, and so base of the wall there. Then we have our pathway goes there, and a bit more of this here. Okay, now we've got just about here, we've got this nearest gravestone, which right in the foreground. So I have to evaluate, is this helpful to the picture? Do I want to minimize it, or what do I want to do with it? For the moment, I'll draw it in, and I like the lean on it. Maybe I've not leaned it over enough, but I can always adjust that later. There's a leaning gravestone here. It can't, you know, churches are fascinating buildings, and historically, for the story they tell. You've got to watch when you get graveyards. They can get it can get slightly morbid, frankly. So you've got to evaluate the whole time. Is this helpful to your composition? Think of the gravestones just as shapes that help your eye in. I love the fact that some of them are against all the verticals. That I love the lean. I actually think this one should be leaning more. And I think it's a little bit slimmer than I've drawn it. May have to get a rubber out here. There's one there. I'm going to get this sarcophagus thing in. There we go. And if you can hear the sounds in the distance, you'll hear, it sounds like there's a game of boule going on down in the village, which I don't think is the case. I just don't know what the source of the noise is. No idea. And now you hear, you may hear sheep in the field down at the bottom of the hill, I think they are. Got a nice tree here. Again, that's on the lean. And what's nice about a tree in this situation is it breaks up a lot of the straight lines, which is a help. And also it will balance out this one here, which will come in and hold this corner. Okay, how are we doing so far? I'm going to just take a step back. Okay, so far so good. This is the area I thought about adjusting. I mentioned that earlier. Am I right to do it? I don't know. There's a roof there that I'm not sure I want this roof here. Yeah, let's put it in, and it's up about there. And there's another couple of chimneys. Okay. Yes, that's what happens. Is this roof goes up quite a bit and across to here, and then yeah. Always think in terms of shape. This is the area I'm not sure about here. That goes down there. There is a window here. It's a rather confusing chimney that we can't really see enough detail about. So I'm going to use this tree here to mask whatever that is there. Here we've got another very tall chimney. Yeah, very tall. And then that roof goes off there. And then this is an important feature. It's a stepped chimney. There. Yep. And then down here we've got the gate. And there's some garden detail here. That's a wall. I'll just lose this in a bit of confusion. There's more sort of battlements here above this gate, and then there's a house. Yeah, there's a house here. The chimney, and there's a tree which comes right up here and goes above our skyline. There, that's there. Yeah. So there's that tree to consider, and below that there is a there's a field here. I may hear the cyclists going by. Well, that doesn't work. I don't know. Something in my picture has gone wrong here. Yeah, trees. Trees, trees, trees. Okay, time to restate the elements in the composition. Put in a couple more of these. I actually think that one of these little crosses might be helpful as opposed to just repeating the same shapes over and over again. Can you hear the sheep? Okay. So from here, I get the feeling that this proportion of this is making the tower look way too small. So I think the tower is going to have to enlarge in size and go up to something like this. That may be more like it. Just looking at the relationship of this to this, still, I'm not happy. And the fact is that if I'm not happy, I shouldn't go ahead and paint it unless I really am happy with it, because it'll only bug me if I haven't got it right. Yep, I think this is still... have to work on this. Okay, I'm going to just reassess the shape of this and this. They're the shapes that are important. So that one goes there, this comes up here. I think I've got my chimneys are slightly too broad, frankly. Yeah, I've taken a liberty here. I've chopped out some of the uninteresting buildings, and you've got to be prepared to take. You use artistic license because I'm not here to copy what's in front of me. It's my reference point, but it is. As an artist, you're beholden to no one to copy exactly what's in front of you. You're here to create a painting, and that's the important thing. So bear that in mind. Don't feel guilty if you move things around. That's basically what that's your responsibility. But of course, that's what's happened. Is having chopped a bit out here, I'm now left with this to resolve. Okay, I think I know what I'll do. Because at the end of it, unless somebody is standing here, or they live in the village, possibly, then they can't check. And anyway, it's not about checking. There's no point in, as I say, trying to ensure that everything is 100% accurate. You're here to create a picture. So, you know, if I wanted to put in extra windows, I can put in extra windows. There is something that I need to do here just to understand what's going on, and that goes up there, and then there's a bit of a serrated top to this, even this outcrop here. But this, I'm going to remind myself, it's dark, that, dark. And they're important darks. This is an important dark. And these ones are, I think, important. Yeah. But I must make sure that I stay faithful to the idea of creating an atmosphere here rather than just copy architectural features. Flag, there's some arrow up here, put that there. Okay, I'll take a step back. I want to resolve this. Ha, don't have a rubber. Never mind. Never mind. So my path. I'll just restate my path here. And then what I'll need to do is that will be the composition drawing done. Then I have to work out a strategy for completing my vision of this painting of Ewelme churchyard. Okay. I think we're nearly there. Yeah, we're nearly there. I think. I'll make this wall a bit lower. It's not very interesting, is it? Still working on this drawing. It's more complicated than I thought. Right, I think that's okay. Now that's the drawing finished. So that's the drawing committed. The next stage is the wash, and what I think about the wash, which I'm going to probably use these 3 squirrel mops to do, is there's a lot of grey in this. See, the sky is actually quite dramatic, so I'm going to try and capture these lines in it, because the lines of the clouds echo the lines through the buildings here, but I mustn't spend too much time up there. This is cool grey, this is warm grey, and all of these gravestones are pretty much the same colour and tone as the church tower here. Then you've got this terracotta Venetian red colour through here. Important to keep this wash loose and just have the areas covered in the right colour, because these will end up being the lightest tones in the finished piece. I'm not going to worry about the grass at the moment, I'll do that later. So let's get into this sky, and I'm going to use the fact that this is dry, and it's got some really light patches in it, so I am going to work with a wet brush onto dry paper. A bit like that. Okay. So, I'm concentrating so hard I can't even think. What have I got to say here? Yeah, okay. What I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of lifting out here. This is pretty much all done on instinct. That's how we do it. I just want to put in some slightly darker bits, important at this point, and just let that brush dance across there. The danger here is to get slightly too complex, but I want some soft edges in here, and I know this is all going to dry quite a bit lighter than it currently is. So I can lift some bits out, soften, and yeah, that looks suitably dramatic. If I'm going to put anything in here, I'm going to go in with some slightly darker colours to give it a bit of drama. There are a couple of little fluffy clouds here, which are tempting me to deal with them. If you don't like it, you can always have a little bit of a spray, and what that does is it opens up the paint. Okay, stop fiddling with it now. Alright, I'll go on to the tower. So I'm using a warm grey here, a little bit of ochre, tiny little bit of ochre, and let's get this in. There we go. So just as you can see, I am just covering that, and then I'll do the same with some of these. Feature a little bit more ochre in them, but there's actually quite a lot of there's quite a bit of ochre in the building, and we don't want this building to be too boring, so I have to get some of this in. And so I'm just trying to keep this all nice and loose, and then I'll pick up some light red, put it into that, a bit of warm grey, light red, warm grey, light red. Let's pop that down there, and I'll pop in a little bit more, and a bit more, and then in here lots of, I'll put in a little bit of ochre as well, so that goes across there. And yeah, important to vary some of the picked up a little bit more than I wanted, but okay. And there's a wall to think about here. Might just have a little bit of a deeper, yeah, but deeper here and up there. Okay, so far so good. So far so good, yeah. And of course it's tempting to go too far with this. It is only the wash after all. Yeah, now I said I wasn't going to do anything about this, the grass area. Am I right? Oh, I've got to do this path, which I feel the path is, yeah, that's again a warm grey. Warm grey. There we go. I just felt tempted to do this, basically. It's hardly a wash. It's more of a scumble that I'm doing. but it blocks in some of the areas that I think, well, I'm going to have to do it anyway. So there we are. Yeah, and then we've got some greenery round about. Very rarely do I pick up green from a tube. I'd always intend to mix it. And there'll be some of this here. I may regret this later, who knows. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I feel like it needs it. So you got to trust your judgment on these things, trust your instinct, and go with it. And the sun's coming out. Okay, I think that'll do. That's the wash. The wash is now dried, and what you're left with here are the lightest values that will remain at the end of the painting. But of course it's very flat, and the light is very flat today. It's not interesting light. So what I'm going to try to do is create a bit more interest by increasing the tonal contrast based on the idea that the light is coming from up here. So what will give dimension to this will be a bit of contrast, so that this facet here, all of this is slightly more in shade than this, so the light is catching here, and then consequently this will be darker. There'll be cast shadows across here. This will all be unified as a shape by a darker tone. This will remain the lightest tone of all the roofs, because the light will be hitting it. And whereas the chimneys right now just flatten into the roof shapes, I'll try to get a bit of dimension from these chimneys on the right hand side. Really what happens at this point is that having done the wash, you then enter wet in wet, where you create the drama of the painting. And you're exploring the unknown here. You really don't necessarily know how you're going to do it. It helps to have a strategy. But on the way to complete that strategy, you have to trust that you have technique that will allow you to execute your strategy. And that is always where the challenge comes in a watercolour. There's quite a lot of moisture in the air. I can feel it. But it's time to get going, and I'm going to leave this guy as it is. It looks quite complicated just now. I think that should all settle into the background once the mid-tones and then the dark tones are put into the painting. So the most important thing to get right here is this tower. Get the mass of it established and the tone of it established. I did notice when I took it, I was watching this as it dried, and instinctively, if you remember, I wanted to increase the lean on this, and I realised why. It's because that angle is the same as that angle, so it's a rhythm through the painting, and then it contrasts with that angle. That angle, that angle, that angle. It stops the flatness of that line from dominating the composition. Anyway, there you go. So I'm now going to go for this tower. I have to get the tone of it right, and I need lots of nice creamy pigment here. As a basis, I'm going to use warm grey. I've got two brushes in my hand. I've got a small squirrel mop, and I've got this reasonably large Skoda synthetic sable. I think I'll probably use this for a little bit of control. I want this to be slightly warmer and darker, so this is too watery what I've got in front of me here, but I'm going to work my way down to what I think is its tonal value. I also need to get the consistency correct here, and of course when this goes on, that's raw umber I'm revitalising there, quite strongly. If I put some into, because this is warm, if I put some lavender in here, it does two things. It neutralises some of that warmth and greys it down, but I don't know if you notice, it also thickens the consistency because it's a slightly more opaque pigment than something, for instance, like ultramarine blue. This is more opacity. It thickens up my pigment, which is what I want. It doesn't stop it being transparent, but it gives it a thickness, neutralises if I've got too much colour in here, and I feel like I'm getting quite close to consistency and tone. Tone comes from how much pigment is in the mix. Thicker the pigment, the darker the tone, regardless of the colour. So now what I'm thinking is, have I got enough? I need a volume of this, so I get more water. I have to put in more pigment to keep the consistency at the thickness that I want. Pick up some more of this. And so this is where, as I said, you've got to trust your technique and your instinct in painting, developed with experience. You simply can't learn this without painting. It's not theoretical, it's practical. So I feel like I've got this here. Now, let's take a look at what happens when I put it up here. And I feel good about this. Yep, I do feel good about this. I'm going to bring this down. While I'm there, I do this. And just do this as well. And these. Okay. Now let's go for this. And what I like is the consistency allows me to just drag it down. If I think it's not quite dark enough, I can do something about that. But right now I feel the consistency is right. I don't want it to go too flat, mind you. So I'm going to watch what I do here. And sun's just come out. But you can see how quickly you use up the well of pigment that you mixed. So I'll get this down to here and let it settle, and then in here I'm just going to vary it a little bit, warm up some of this here. And under here it actually goes slightly darker. So I'll just reflect that with this, and I'm just concentrating here on this. I can do just a few little touches here, don't overdo it, but while it's in this state, I can, if I go in with thicker paint, I can state some things, some features, but they'll be soft and blend in, and that's exactly what I want. While I'm here, I need this tree. I think I need this tree to blend in its edges. So that's why I've dived in here. And because I want a soft edge here. Soft edge. I'll come back to this later. But I want that soft edge. Yeah, a bit of softness there. And it does that. I can concentrate on this bit here because at the moment I'm not connected to this. I will do it. I will connect, but just while we're here, I want to get into that. A bit of burnt umber here, and so that needs to be darker. Darker, darker. And if I want that to be, this is a neutral tint I'm picking up. I'll put a little bit of ultramarine blue in there, and I could, yeah, that's a nice consistency. Down to here. I was going to do that right at the very end, but actually turns out that's quite a good time to pick. And right, okay, so now what I need to do is connect this tone with this shape here. So that is just a shape, and I'll come back and do the highlights later. Is there any point in doing a bit of that? Probably not. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, that's for later. Right, this here. I'm going to leave this as it is and see if the tone of it works or is convincing once I've got this tone in here. So I'll just mix on top of what I already had. I'm keeping this warm grey here, and I'm going to pick some light red, burnt sienna. I'm picking light red because I feel there's quite a lot of red there, and I don't want to lose it. Don't want it to go too dark. And this is definitely not what I see in front of me. There's even some brown madder here. Brown madder is, yeah, that's good. Don't have enough water in the mix here. I mustn't go too dark. That's always a danger, is to go too dark. So I'm looking for, I'll just pick up a little bit of this lavender. As you see, it neutralizes the warmth of my mix, and as I said before, it it thickens it. So I am going to do a little test somewhere. It feels like it could be here. As I say, this has got nothing, well, very little to do with what's in front of me. Let me just steady the board, and there we go. And I'll do this. It's important to let the brush strokes do it. It's not about accuracy here. It's about using some of the brushstroke technique to add some interest value. And then there would be a cast shadow here, I think. Here, here, and there. And I'll just pick out yes, I think I'm quite happy with this. Because it's given it a bit of dimension. Once again, see how much I've used. So I need to remix this. You'll never get it exactly the same. Just trust your eye and your judgment. So now I will go here, here, here.
Looks very impressive.
There.
Trying to do lessons on video now.
And there. And there. Okay, so there we are. So it starts to add a bit of dimension here. And I'm just going to have to keep going. Obviously I haven't mixed enough pigment, but there we go. Another one of these chimneys. And here. And then this is where I made up something that isn't in front of me. But keep going. Bit more pigment needed, with a bit of brown madder. Too strong the brown madder. So I correct it a little bit. That's a bit too much. Anyway, get some of this in here, and okay. Off we go. And that's, you'll notice that for this I'm still using quite a big brush. It's got a decent point. It's not got the best point, but what is what's important here is to just show confident brush strokes, frankly. That is part of watercolour painting, is confident brush strokes. And we are just, while we're here, get that in. There's also an arch there. And there's a suggestion here of these interesting battlement features, as I call them. I don't know what you'd call them. So we don't need lots here. We don't need lots of detail. This tree is going to be a tad denser than the one in front of me, but that's more than acceptable in terms of license, artistic license. Let's just do a bit of darkening in here while it's there. I need some more dark neutral tint. I'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue to that and try and get that in there. Shape is important though. Okay. And I'm going to pick up a smaller brush now because I'm in the zone for doing these windows, and so let's just get these ones in too. I mean, normally you would do this right at the very end. That would be the appropriate time to do it. But for some reason, I feel compelled to do it right now. And that is, it's important to keep yourself happy as you paint along. You've got to keep your mood, keep energy in the painting. Wow, is that ever important? Energy comes, you get a rhythm if you're lucky while you're painting, and that is something to really recognize and use. If you can see it and you think, okay, I'm going to do it now, just go ahead and do it. Okay, so that has given some dimension to this, and put my hand in the paint. It's also a moment to try different things, so I'm going to just get these in with a dry brush while this is wet. It's just something I feel would be good timing. So rather than question it, I'm just going to do it. Just going to do it. There we are. This is a funny building because there is a chimney there that makes it a bit lopsided. And there's even a hint of something there. Right. So far so good. I might do a little bit of this up here. And then there's these nice shapes here. The reason I'm doing this now is it gives, I've got the chance of getting some softish edges. I know I'm not going for detail, but the soft edges are quite nice. So one. No, that's not. That's just too dry. Here we go. This time. That's too wet. When is it just right? Well, that's just. I'm afraid that is what painters call painting miles. You have to do the painting miles to get that feel. How are we doing? I'm running out of things to say here, which I shouldn't be, but there we go. Let's get that in. Not happy with that. Anyway, let's just keep going here. This is not how I thought I was going to do the painting, but it doesn't matter. Does it work? That's the important thing. And so far, well, the telltale thing is I'm enjoying it. That's really important. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of colour for that door, because it's annoying me that it's sitting there all white. So here we go. I'll just pop this door in here. There we go. And then what happens is it turns into a garden. Yep, it turns into a garden there. So I'm just going to try and, do that. And there's some little flowers in there. Yeah, this is a garden, and so that's why I'm putting in some of that. Yeah. So I've put in this darker tone here to create the feeling of light coming from here, and it's a moment when I can assess what else I need to do here to carry the painting on to completion. And I feel quite a lot of this has gone reasonably well in here, but I've got to treat these, I've got to get some of that character in the roof shape, and I'm just wondering how I can do that. So I couldn't leave it as it is because it's just too flat. I'm going to have a little play down here and see if that helps me to work out how I'm going to do some of the other areas here. So it could be that, for instance, I watch yourself. That kind of thing, that's what I mean. I've got to do some of that. So this is just using a dryish brush across some of these areas. And this doesn't come out of the textbook, I can tell you. This is just I'm just making this up as I go along, and then I'll see if I think it works. Sometimes these things come off and sometimes they don't. But you're never going to do it if you think I'll paint every brick. So you have to do it like this. You've got to do something like this. Okay, so far so good. The roof. I'm in two minds about that. I'm really in two minds. So that if I'm in two minds, I shouldn't do it until I'm convinced that it's the right thing to do. What else can I do? I can do some of this, and that might settle some of that down. I think what I'll do is I'll change brushes back to the bigger one. This is a size 12 and this is a size 6. And I feel like I need something in between. 10. Right, 10. It's got a beautiful point, this, because it's new. Okay, so I think what I need to do here is to get this wall in. I like it when the paint, there's just enough that you get a flow down to the bottom edge. That comes really from picking up enough paint of the right consistency, and that then gives you that. I'm using that to just outline some of those gravestones. Feels like a time to do this. Just putting in the capping on the top of the wall. There. Don't get bogged down. Right. Now, what next? I think it's time to put in the grass. So I'll mix up this green again, using cadmium yellow, cerulean blue, a bit of cobalt blue. Eventually you just add in everything to get green. So you want it to have lots of variation. And once again I'm trying to get the right consistency because I want this to flow when it's on the paper, to flow off the brush. That's ultramarine, which I picked up by mistake. And what I'll do is I'll go in here and see. At this point you kind of find yourself drawing with the brush. I still have to be mindful of the tone, but essentially I've got to have the right consistency of paint to allow me to confidently fill in an area, but also have a feeling that I can draw with it. I hope you can see that. So a bit more of this, a bit more blue in there. I like some of that broken paintwork, brush marks. Yeah, I like some of that. You want it to have lots of nice small variations in it. So as I come towards my foreground here, I need plenty of pigment here. So, and then we're going to go down the slope. I don't really want these white sparkles there. I can add these in now, or I can do it later. Really working very much by instinct today, because it's not about painting what's in front of me. I'm taking liberties basically with what's in front of me, because the light is just so poor. Okay, I need to do this bit now. So once again, mixing up, just very mindful of the right consistency for this. And let's go in there. That describes the edge of the building. Come around here. There we go. Okay, I've gone quiet because I'm really concentrating. Didn't concentrate enough, frankly. Picking up the whole time. And some of those little sparkles that I left, little bits of white that were left in the first wash, might come good here. Okay. Just get a little darker edge here. Okay, and more of this to help here. So you'll see that I'm constantly varying the green that I'm picking up. I don't want it to be uniform. And that's mixing on the paper. And then we've got this cross here, which I like simply because it was a cross, and it's in a graveyard. It's just part of the visual language that says instantly something appropriate regarding your composition and your subject matter. So far so good. So now we'll do some of these trees in here in the background, because there are bits of white that I left that are now distracting. So always mixing the green rather than out of a tube. And let's go in here. And I want nice, I want soft edges here. I want soft edges. Yeah. Here. That may be too strong, that green. Just watching where the rest of my hand is going. And continuing on. And this is just about encouraging the brush to do some of the work, really. Yeah. And there's a little bit of patch of green there. I'm not sure if it is useful to me, but so trees, it's just about suggestions, and so a little dry brush stroke there. Just suggestions of trees. I'm too light in my tones, I think. So, combination of ultramarine blue, which was there, and burnt sienna will bring the green down in tone. And hopefully allow me to just put some edges in here. Don't want this in any way to be distracting, so I'm just going to fill that in. And while I'm here, I shall pick up some of that there and pop that in. Yep. Okay. And carry on. Much of this you've got to do on instinct. See, brushwork is important here. I think of this as letting the brush dance. Let the brush do as much of the work as possible. Yeah. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna to get darker, something a little bit darker there, maybe a little bit more blue. And yeah, so far so good. And that's bringing the chimneys to the fore, if you can see that. A stroke the opposite way sometimes is what's needed. And you'll always find that you just make a clumsy stroke now and again. So, well, I do. You see the darkness of that tone It's not that dark, but it is helping to bring the shape forward. The shape of this block of buildings. Alright, now we get to this one here where we've got a nice big tree. So a bit of cobalt blue, bit of cadmium yellow there, tiny bit of ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt sienna, a bit more of that, ultramarine blue, and just a little bit too strong there. That's calmed it down, and yeah, this is that was important, that bit there. Right, okay, so let's just do some of this up here. And I think what I was saying before was try and get the brush to do some of the work. So I'm not really controlling it in the same way. I am just pushing the brush in some places to make a mark. That's what it feels like anyway, and I think that is, yeah, I mean I'm happy with that. That's what I was looking for. And into this wet into wet, I've placed some of these uprights. So that's done something quite nice there. So keep going. I need some darkness here, in here. Just mixing up the consistency that I need. There. It's even darker, you know. It's even darker. So I'll take this ultramarine blue and just put it straight in there. And then that comes down there and does something a bit a roof. Far away roof, yeah. All that darkness is on my brush. I'll just go back in, do a few little marks. It feels like it's the right consistency to do it. It's still damp there, but there's the thickness here will help it. Okay, so we now have to do something here, and again I'm putting this in here to not only hold this right hand side of the composition, but it will also push everything away if I get this nice and dark up here. Dark. So let's mix up some green, some cobalt blue. I need plenty of this mixture. That's ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, the old favourites, cobalt blue, that's cobalt blue, this is ultramarine blue. The shortcut that I can take here, of course, is neutral tint. And I want the consistency to be quite thick, so no more water, just paint. And it's when it's this dark, it's fairly neutral. In fact, what you should do is you should mix this on the paper. So I'm just going to dry the brush a little bit here. You can either use one of these or some tissue. There we go. Join up with this tree. I want it to be darker still, so I'm going for ultramarine blue, neutral tint, burnt sienna, and let's mix this on the paper with some interesting brushstrokes. Yeah, okay, so this brings it forward, and I think that could do with going all the way down there. And what I'll reach for here, yeah, I'm just going to reach for this. It's a reservoir rigger, and I'll get in here with it, and I can use this to do some strokes that are like twigs. You just let the brush do a lot of the work here. I'm not actually painting the characteristics of the tree here, it's the tone I want. As you can see, I'm piling in lots of different bits of pigment there, but it's because I want a nice thick pigment to give me the contrast. Give contrast here. Just mess this up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so that was that reservoir rigger there. And so I'll take a step back. Okay, I still need to do gravestones, a bit of this tree. I need to resolve this. It's too bland. But I'm going to do the gravestones next. So the gravestones look to me like they're all about dry brush marks. With nice bits of actually it's the mould or the lichen on this is the best colour for that is raw sienna here. And let's do this one quite, no, let's limber up with something over here. I won't do it on all of them. Maybe I will. well, it's fun to do stuff like this. Really, it does that there. I've swapped these around really, haven't I? Let's do a bit of this here. Yes, yeah, that's okay. So that brings that forward. Get slightly paler here. There we go. Let's have a little look at this. Down there. And then it goes down there. And carry on. Need some texture on the front. Some texture there. And a little bit here. A little bit of detail. The fact is that if this is very close to me, I can afford to put in some detail on this one, because that then gives the viewer a clue as to what the others might be like, but I don't have to paint them in quite the same detail. I just do I don't have to do as much to them. I do need to give them a little bit of dimension though. So here we go. There. A little bit too blue. There. 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 And there. And we've got one there. There's one here. I'll go back to that one later. There's one there. One there. One there. One there. Let's just put a bit of something here. So, as you can see, I'm getting near to it. There's some dry brush strokes starting to appear in this, which means that the wet stage is over, and we're coming up the finishing straight here. And you get to the stage where you start to do, you look around for what do you still have to do. That tells you that you're in the home straight really. And it's usually lots of fun, or it's very enjoyable anyway at this stage. So I'm still working on this. But we are into dry brush strokes, no question about it. Because I'm starting to use a dry brush more often than a wet brush. Something I need to just remind myself of is that I decided I would have some directional light in this, which means that there must be something of a cast shadow here. And that's quite good for making you think about a bit of unification of some of the shapes. So that joins on to this one here. Needs to be a little bit of shape here. So let's see if I can figure out what's required. The palette is getting quite muddy, so I might need to just think about that. There's a bit of shape here that I think we could do with a little bit of this. But don't overdo it, keep it nice and loose. Yeah, that's okay. I like to just take that down a bit. It's at the edge, so I don't want it to start to encroach on where the eye goes. You still got to remember that you're leading the eye into various places here. Okay, so we're on this tree now. And I'll do some of those stray branches at the top as well. So they're going to come up shortly. A little bit of ultramarine blue with some cadmium yellow. If I need to some darker element, I can go to burnt sienna, balance it out with this ultramarine blue, pick up some green and go back in again. Shortcut there is cobalt turquoise. Now you can get too cavalier about this, frankly, but and too many. What you want to do is just get the impression of the tree, and I think it's also important to link up with the building here, because that is the nature of this tree, is it has these bits that are going out, and what's good about what I think is important about the tree is that it reaches up into the sky like this and across and breaks up some of these lines. They're important. And I think what I might do is I'll just put a few brighter ones in the front. Yeah, what I need is some lemon yellow, excuse me. There are some go-to colours that you eventually trust. Lemon yellow. Let's see what this does. I'm just dabbing it a little bit at the minute, but it does, I think, suggest that the light is catching some of these leaves, and you can see the direction I'm placing it is hopefully intended to lead your eye into the painting, but not do too much. Exactly that. Right, let's take a look around this and see what else needs to be done. There can't be a lot. Interestingly, I'll just point this out now, that at the time I did the wash looked quite dark. Now you can see it's the lightest tone in this whole area. So that in itself is interesting. It's all the tones have started to go down. I need to put in this. I need to resolve this. Am I going to do anything about it? Well, if I ask myself that, I tend to think there must be something I still need to do about it. But what is it? Okay. I shall mix up something with a bit of red and have a little trial somewhere. That feels slightly too strong, but of course it may be that just needs to be done with more conviction. What I liked was the higgledy-piggledy nature of that roof, and yet I haven't done anything about it, so maybe that's what it requires. Just getting the tone to read and no more is what I'm after here, though. And maybe this will do it. I won't know until I stand back. But I can't half do it and stand back. I've got to do the whole thing. So, has it done it? Has it done it? Okay, I'll just put a flag in here, I think. Need a cool grey for that. Cool neutral grey. Neutral grey. I have no idea what flag would be flying up here. I presume it would be the Union Jack, don't you think? So, let's pick up a bit of cobalt blue, pop that in, and we'll pick up a little bit of this red, and that might suggest a Union Jack. I hope so. I've got something here that's just too strong. There. It feels like I'm almost there. I think this could be slightly darker and slightly more neutral. So that's what I'll do. I'll pick up a neutral grey. And let's see if I come in from here. It has the added advantage of allowing me to just get some contrast into the shape the gravestones, really. There we are. That's definitely better. I've left out some tumbling tree work, and there is something I want to do here. Is again, it's all about contrast at the end. Very much about contrast. So I think I need this to go there, and then there's a bit of that, and then there's a bit more of that, and a bit of that. I think that helps a bit. There's little bits and pieces you could do. And you know, the risk of fiddling, sometimes tiny little marks at the end, if they're well considered, can make a huge amount of difference. You know, because you've lived with the painting for such a long time. That you've come to know it well, and you can just spot them. So I was right in front of the camera there, but anyway, at the end it's all about contrast and highlights, and I haven't put in any highlights yet, but that's coming up, and then we're finished. Okay, some highlights. So we come to the bit where Jaune Brilliant makes its appearance. This usually comes when you've got strong sunlight, but we don't have strong sunlight today. But I might just want to highlight something like that. Let's see. That felt like it was worth doing. Not thick enough here. Not sure about that one. Do something there. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's a day for Jaune Brilliant, I must say. I'll just soften this off, I think. Yeah, might be better like that. Okay, so time to take the tape off and see what we've arrived at. Moment of truth. Tape. Right. Take this one off. Here's our final painting of Ewelme churchyard with the church and the almshouses. And as you can see, well, you can see the scene behind me. I've completed it. It's an L-shaped composition like this, with a little bit of perspective. The dynamics of the composition are helped by this diagonal path, which leads you into a point of high contrast here. The tower is the interesting bit, and then this is secondary, but it's quite a dominant shape. The clouds, I tried to reflect the fact that it's a dullish day, but the clouds are actually quite interesting, but you don't want them to be the hero of the piece. It's still the buildings that are the main interest. And yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. It was quite a challenge, but I'm pleased that it's come off reasonably well. So thanks for being with me. Bye.